Hi, I'd like to welcome you to Midday Roast with Team SI. We're excited to have you join us today. We started Midday Roast about a month ago. Just wanted to share with you some of the conversations we have around the office about marketing and data and digital and how technology influences what we do every day. Today we have a great team with us. We have, for the first time, Team SI CEO and founder, Tim Whitley.
I go by team too.
Tim Whitley, yeah, either way. And then we have our senior account executive, Whitney Burgess. Whitney Burgess is a familiar face. She's been around here on the broadcast for a while and been with Team SI for about 2 years. So excited to have everyone out there join us. And I know Facebook is building our audience for us right now. And we want to ask you to help out and join us. So we're going to do that right now. I'm going to go ahead and share our broadcast. And I want to encourage you, Tim and Whitney. Tim's already done it for us.
I'm just one step ahead.
He's always one step ahead of me. That's the problem right here. But we're going to go ahead and share this Facebook Live so we can get all of our friends involved and online right now. And I want to encourage you, after you share it, to go ahead and jump in and ask a question if we say something, to like it, to give us a little heart. Grace over here is running the console and will ask us a question and interrupt us and shout it out. And we have a giveaway today. Today we have a Team SI cup that we're going to give away to, we're going to select one person who comments during the live broadcast and ask a question, and we'll send this out to them. If you're in the building and work for Team SI or MHP, you cannot win the cup. Sorry guys. So someone else external has to do that. So let's get started. Today we're talking about data, the importance of data, and how data can influence your marketing. So why don't we flip it over to Tim to start, and you tell us about how can data benefits us from a marketing perspective.
Well, a lot of people think that before you, build a marketing plan, all you need to understand is your customer base, and then usually if you ask a business, who are you targeting, they say everybody, whoever wants to buy the product, whatever. This is where it comes into first-party data, is what we like to call, with like an example of Google Analytics or your customer relation management tool or your CMS, whatever contains your data right now. So the people that are coming to your website, the people that are shopping with you inside of your CRM, that's first-party data, and that also helps to build out a marketing plan versus thinking about it just, let's just do some marketing. Let's just throw up some billboards, let's just do some TV, and let's do that internet thing, right? It starts, I think the thing about data that a lot of people get inaccurate is that data is not just the back end of saying, well, here's your ROI, or here is what we did for you. And here's what your Google Analytics looks like. I think it actually starts on the front end to then help build your marketing plan. Would you agree?
No, I think definitely data is important from that first party data, the data you own, defining who your audience is now, and really comparing that to who you think it is or who you want it to be. And then using third party data, as in other people's data, big data, to help you define who you want, who's out there, who the potential audience is. And so, Whitney, why don't you kind of explain that, what third-party data is,
yeah, because a lot of people do get confused,
how you can create that and use that.
Absolutely. So with third-party data, this is essentially like an extension, right? So with Team SI, we use Doppio, and that's a combination of multiple data points, and we're segmenting it and layering data points on top of each other based on everything from demographic information to annual income, maybe it's interest or a job title, and pulling in from all these different areas of ways that people have self-identified themselves, also comparing their behavior online. So that helps us know if somebody's in market or is likely to take an action within a certain amount of time. And it's based on their behavior, the keywords that they use online. We can also layer those things. So with that is how we build our ideal audience, who we want to connect with, and also our potential. So these could be people that, maybe it's a tier 3 audience as opposed to lookalike audiences based on who we currently have. So being able to identify those different segments helps us make better plans and also understand what the creative should be in each of those, because it tells us what they want to see, what are they likely to do, and overall helps us better communicate with the audience.
No, exactly right, And I think the whole concept of that data influence in the creative is really important, and probably one of the most important things. And we say that your creative should reflect your audience. So tell us how data helps your creative reflect your audience.
Well, when I was talking about the first-party data defining of what you should do in a marketing plan, it's the same thing with creative. Is we take a look at that first-party data and then who we're targeting, and then our creative department that is 2 floors above us, they just like one of our clients, Whitney, was working with a very specific client that needed a very specific niche, and our creative director and our creative people came up with something that spoke to them, that spoke to them in a way that they would be reflective, that they would see themselves.
Right.
And if you do that, instead of just creating a TV spot, and when we say TV, of course we mean YouTube, pre-roll, there is no more just one screen, right?
Broadcast TV, right?
Yeah, there's no more just one screen, it's multi-screen. And so the thing that was really cool about that with first-party data is, you see it on YouTube all the time, the whole skip ad thing, the 5 seconds in, you can skip an ad, or 10 seconds in. If you match the creative to the first party data, that's where with your client, they saw 66%, actually it was 66.54% view through rates. Those people that actually watch the whole 30-second ad, when the other, I'm doing real math in my head, 34% basically did skip ads. So that's important on the creative. Also though, if our creative department, if they develop something and then when it runs inside of Doppio, we can then be able to see, okay, well this creative just sucked because it didn't reflect with them, or it did really well. And you can tell that by attributions of where the mouse went over the creative, or if people actually viewed through it, stuff like that. So that's the fundamental data part.
Right. So I mean, that's definitely a different part. So we have a data of who our audience is, who our customers are, and then we have data of how they interact with our ads, and we optimize using that data, and really serve up different creative and see which data has people who watch it the most, and if we track appropriately, see which data takes the final action, which fills out the form for a test drive. That wants more information about a tractor, that wants to download a white paper or make an appointment for a physician. So lots of different ways that we can use data in the funnel. And that turns to lead nurturing and how data influences and informs our lead nurturing. And I know you do a lot of work on lead nurturing with your clients, Whitney. So tell us a good example of lead nurturing and how that data has changed that process of lead nurturing.
Well, the biggest thing we've seen in lead nurturing is understanding, I know this is something that we hear a lot through being Google partners, but also that's something that you guys preach about a lot, is it has to be the right platform with the right message at the right time in front of the right audience. So we have to make sure that we're applying all of those features to the plan. For example, as far as a lead nurturing campaign, I'm working with a business-to-business client, and we tested the same 3 ads on 3 different platforms. And we found that each platform had a different highest performing ad. Through that, it helped us see, okay, on Twitter, for example, the top rated one was for the download. So somebody we wanted to download a 1-sheeter. On LinkedIn, the one we saw that was the most important was about more information and learning about an industry specific topic. They wanted to read more. They weren't really ready to opt in and give their information away, but they were ready to learn more and show interest. On Facebook, we saw that it was more about a featured person from the business, so they really related to a personal story. So it tells a lot about where people are when they're on these. For Twitter, for example, as far as lead nurturing, it's a very quick and instantaneous process, and a platform by nature. So seeing that download, that's where we need to continue to reach those people and apply that information. LinkedIn is going to be a little bit more middle of the funnel. That tells us that they want to learn more and get more information, and Facebook is going to be a really good platform for awareness. So if we want to continue using all 3 of them to work together to lead the same person through that kind of sales funnel.
But like one of our senior leadership, Michael, yesterday he was talking about it all really depends on whatever your KPI though is.
Exactly.
Like if If it's awareness, then you have an awareness funnel, and you drive that data to drive awareness. But you don't have to drive awareness to everyone and their dog. It still
Right.
applies to the first party data, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then another KPI, like we do very well around here, specifically Michael, his team, all of our Google Premier specialists, etc., is the cost per lead. Getting that down with the lead generating inside of the KPI.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, I read a paper yesterday versus, how does data impact CPLs, which is cost per lead.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, if you use data, the cost per lead goes way down because you're only impacting the people that you really want.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we need to start thinking about how does data also bring about brand awareness, because we've talked so much about lead driving. You're still going to have a world to build brand awareness, but it still has to take data to get it in front of the right people. Do you agree?
I agree. I think what I really kind of worked with clients on is identifying what do you need right now. If you need to increase your brand awareness and that's your top priority because based on maybe budget constraints or any other reason, we need to think about what is your top priority. Do you need people to know about you? Then the campaign that we're going to be building is going to be based on that need. If you need people to, you need, actual feet on the ground and you need people coming in, foot traffic coming in the store, well then that's a different strategy. And so understanding that there are ways that we can do a full campaign and we can do all things at the same time, or we can focus in specific areas, whether it's product growth or awareness or education. And maybe it's retention. Maybe it's specific campaign focused on having your customers and clients tell your own story. So all of those have different strategies, different investments, and the data will tell us that. Where even from their first party data, where are they seeing the gaps on their end, and that helps us make better decisions. So I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, and it's definitely important when you're building out a campaign that definitely we're going to meet your immediate needs. We want to solve your problem right now, but we also want to anticipate what the problem is going to be 6 months from now, a year from now, and also run a campaign that's going to build you the awareness. So we're putting people on the top of your funnel, or we're pulling them out and you're converting them in the bottom of the funnel. And sometimes that's a process because you're thinking about the customer journey in that process and the different personas that we're going to have to create in that process, and how we're going to meet their information needs for each step to move them through the customer journey, down from awareness to taking action and to engage with you directly. Mm-hmm. And that's an important part of using data, of recognizing where your customers are in that journey and how we address that and how we answer those questions. So Tim, let's talk about, go ahead.
But honestly, I mean, that's what you just said is a mouthful. And we had our director of sales when he first started. He told us, and he won't mind us saying this, but that it took him 6 months to actually understand everything that we do with data, because it's a little bit hard to understand. Mm-hmm. So if you're overwhelmed with what we're talking about, it's okay, because you are 95% of the population. It's okay.
So let's go down to that and say first steps. Say you didn't understand my mouthful and I get carried away because we're around data all the time and we have these conversations. First steps with data. So you're new to this, you've been running regular marketing. Besides calling you, what's the first step they should take with their data?
I'm just saying, and John Morgan would say this, that makes appearances on here, is first look at Google Analytics. If you just go into behavior and go into interest and demographics and age, and you're going to discover who's really on your website. Now, if that stuff is turned off, that's easy to just turn on, especially if you're the admin. But by realizing that data will then start to turn your mind on to exploring other portions of data. What can I do with this data? What does this tell me? Maybe if, like you just said, if you look at these Google Analytics and it says that your website is 70% male, and you're like, oh no, I need that to be 50-50, well then that leads into the conversation of then marketing, and then how does the data drive to that increase of 100% in the female audience to get it to where it needs to get. So I think it starts with the data that you have in-house
Right.
and looking at it and understanding
It's
it.
easy to obtain. It's in your Google Analytics already. The other third-party data that I'm thinking about is like Google Trends.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah.
you can really go into Google Trends and see literally down to your metro market, what the search volume is for a specific topic and how that varies over time and compares to other search. So you can search for your brand or a competitor's brand and see how you compare over time in a specific market.
Well, and
So-
Google Trends will also tell you what's breakout and what's rising and stuff like that. So if you're selling X product and you look at X product, it's also going to define what is Y and Z that is breaking out or rising that you may not have thought of, too.
So Google Analytics, Google Trends, two of the first steps with data. Let's take a break for a second and see if Grace has a question that's come in. Have we got any questions so far?
Only question that's really come in is you mentioned Doppio. What exactly is Doppio?
So Doppio is a mouthful. Sometimes I say it wrong. Another one of those things. We're gonna let Tim tell us what is Doppio and kind of explain that process to us.
Yeah, I mean, so that's something internal at Team SI and something that we're really proud of, but it is something that our data analyst uses constantly. And Doppio is, well, I'm a huge coffee drinker. Today I'm drinking water, but usually I'm drinking coffee. And if anybody that loves coffee knows what Doppio is, which means 2 shots of espresso. So basically, the 1 shot of espresso is our data. And we have 188 data partners that are all tied into this one system. And they're from third party to first party to, well, whatever other party. But there's 188 of them. And we rent all of this data in one centric place so that we're not just looking at one data set. We can look at 188, segmented out 25,000 different ways, and then be able to overlay an advertising campaign with, let's say, 13 data sets at the very beginning of a campaign. But in 3 months, once you optimize and figure out what's working, then it may only be 3 data sets. And so to really be inside of the funnel of whoever your audience is, it's all about data. I mean, whatever you do on your phone, whatever you do on your desktop, whatever you do on your tablet, whatever you connect with the Wi-Fi, it's all being captured. And that captured data tells the internet of what you're in market for. And so we prepared Doppio. So the second shot of espresso is the human element. It's the people that we employ here in Little Rock and in Austin that all work for Team SI and that are completely immersed in data, and then they know how to segment it. They know what's working, what doesn't, and so that is our proprietary systematic approach to how we drive down into data and drive down into a marketing campaign. And every single data set's not going to work. You have to test each one to actually see. And so that's why we have 188 when there might be other data firms that only use 1, and you're just stuck with that 1, where we're going to pile on, like I said, 17 on one campaign, see which one works the best, and then optimize out. And so I think that's the important part of Doppio, where a lot of people, we just saw that coming back in 2010.
Right, so it's the marketing automation mixed with the human element and the human attribution, where the intelligence of a human working together to reach the goal for a client. Doppio. Any other questions, Grace?
Not right now.
No more questions right now?
No.
You have any last thoughts on data and data marketing?
You know, it is a mouthful. You've been hearing about it for 3 or 4 years about data mining, data mining, data mining. You have huge companies out there that has built their companies around data, in-house data. So like the Salesforce company of the world, the IBM of the world, and be able to kind of forecast what your business is doing. And a lot of people, especially Fortune 500, are accepting that kind of intelligence with a Salesforce, with other CRMs, etc. But what they're not experiencing just yet, because of lack of knowledge, but we'll get there, is how do you use that data that you already have to then get more customers, whether that's a lookalike or a different segment of it for a different product. That data that you have in your house and in your CRM, whatever, can be utilized in so many different ways that a lot of people don't know what to do with it, but we do here at Team SI. That's a shameless plug, but we love data. But that's what 2017, 2018 is going to be really about is how do I use my data to then have more audiences, more clients, more acquisitions, and what parts, and how does that landscape look like, and stuff like that.
So yeah, 2017, 2018 is bringing the promise of data that everybody's talked about to a reality.
Mm-hmm.
That's what
I
you're
think it's a reality right now, but like I said, a lot of Fortune 500 and even small businesses have the CRMs and the customer base. They just don't know what to do with the data.
Right, exactly. How to put it into play, into action to work for you.
Yeah.
Cool. Any last thoughts on data?
The biggest thing that I've seen right now is specifically like in the B2B worlds, where I'm constantly getting feedback that I don't think my audience is online. They're not using search. They're not on social media. This is not where they are. This is all, handshake business. And the data tells us that that's not true. That's the big thing. And, some of the things that I would, try to encourage people to do, and even data that I supply back to clients and potential clients, is this is Google Trends. This is not even going through Doppio proprietary information. This is free information that you can check and look at your vertical, look at your industry, and see that there are people there. They are actually researching it. They are online because everyone's online. And so I think that that's the biggest thing I'm seeing right now is, people don't think that their audience is on search. They don't think that they're on social. They still think that Facebook is a very young audience, which is just, it's not true anymore. We're adapting and we want to connect, and that's where we're spending our time, and that's where our attention is.
Well, especially on this.
Absolutely.
Right?
So
everybody has one of these.
Right.
There was a study out just about Arkansas that there are actually more smartphones, active smartphones, than there are humans,
mm-hmm.
and that has a lot to do with businesses, with business accounts and stuff. Mm-hmm. But everybody has one of these.
And they say that 91% of people always have a smartphone, and they're never further than with arm's reach distance. So they're online, they are mobile centric, and let's all accept that and then start building better campaigns.
Yeah, the other mobile centric fact that I saw last week is 2016 was the first time that fast forward on a DVR declined ever. And the reason that is people are using that commercial to take a break to check their phone or to tweet
mm-hmm.
or do something on their phone rather than fast forward through that commercial already.
Mm-hmm.
So it really shows us that dual screen usage and how people are using
mm-hmm.
that.
I mean, we have studies like crazy that we have from Google, that shows that duality, the multitasking of screens, and how do you make a TV commercial speak to somebody that has a mobile phone with them?
Or how do you ask them to take action and motivate them to action with your TV commercial to go ahead and engage with you on social media or visit your website at that moment?
Yeah.
Definitely, that opportunity's there.
Yeah.
All right. Well, any more questions, Grace?
Nope.
Well, we appreciate everyone joining us today, and I want to encourage you, if you've enjoyed it, to go ahead and like it, or you can share it. I want to ask you to join us again next week, and we'll be. You can go ahead and ask a question in the comments, and we'll answer that question next week when we come on. If you have a question, if you have a suggestion for a topic or something you'd like for us to discuss, you can drop that in the comments too, and we'll be able to talk about that next week. So thank you so much for joining us, and have a good weekend.